Welcome to Gross Anatomy.
Hey everybody, welcome to Gross Anatomy. And I am Dr. Jason Cohen.
I am Raya O'Neill.
And today we have a very special guest.
Very special guest.
Very special. We have Jack Della Femina.
How we doing? What's up, Doc?
What's up, Jack?
I've been wanting to use that
You
one
got
for
it?
a while.
You've been planning on doing that one?
For a while.
And there you go. You got it. There's a lot going on. There's so much going on. And you are in your Bravo Toast hat.
I am. I had to represent my new business, a cafe that me and my best friend started in West Hollywood. We just opened a few months ago, but we have great hats, as you can see.
It is a very cool hat. How come I don't have a hat?
We got to get you one. You got a new shipment coming soon.
Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff I actually wanted to pick your brain about. Your last name is a pretty famous last name. It's
in the advertising world.
The last name Toast is a pretty famous last name. No, Della Femina is a pretty like I had heard that name and I put two and two together and realized that your grandfather was Jerry Della Femina. Della Femina, right?
Jerry's still alive and kicking it.
Is right.
Yes.
My apologies. Is, and he's both from advertising and also restaurants, right?
Yeah. He's had a number of different things over the years outside of advertising. But yeah, he had a very famous restaurant in East Hampton, New York for many years. He also had a deli out there called the Red Horse Market. That did well. And he had a town newspaper as well called the Independent in East Hampton.
Wow. And I was never really a Hamptons guy. I was not so lucky that later in life, I had some friends who would do like the timeshare house thing in the summer. So I'd get to, crash on someone's, eighth of a share and spend a little time out in the Hamptons. But I never really did the Hamptons much. So to me, I didn't know anything really about your grandfather other than occasionally I loved reading the New York Post, and occasionally like his name would appear not in a bad way, but in a good way in the New York Post.
He had a column for many years in the Post as well.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did. I don't know what year it was, but it wasn't in the Post any longer, but it was still in his paper, and he still writes it actually on his Facebook page. So Jerry's Ink is still alive and well. And
what is a column about? Is it about food? Is it about New York?
It would just be like commentary, his thoughts. I mean, he is a creative guy, and everything from stuff from his parents and his grandparents growing up in Brooklyn and New York to current stuff going on, jokes, definitely all over the spectrum in terms of like what you could see in terms of content. Yeah, everything from family recipes to political satire.
And we don't have to keep talking about him the whole thing, but I was Raya, I don't know if you know this, that a TV show that I loved, Mad Men, right? Mad Men.
Yeah, not Mad Men, the dispensary.
Not Mad Men. Yeah, that's why I said it slowly. I thought to myself, is it the marijuana plate? No, it's Mad Men. Wasn't that somewhat based a little bit on your grandfather?
Yeah, he wrote a New York Times bestseller I think it came out in the 70s. And that was the base. It was all about the inside of the advertising industry, which in the 70s was like the hot industry of its time, like real estate is today, or tech is
or
today.
Bravo Toast.
Right. But advertising was like the hot industry. All the people in that industry were huge, and he wrote a book about kind of how it worked. Talked about how everything from when it was the 50s to when in the 70s is when humor kind of became an element in it. And they lived a crazy time, and he had like a crazy advertising agency. And those stories, though, became the basis of why they did this show on the advertising industry in the first place, as the legend goes.
Did you see? Have you either of you watched the show?
I've
seen a few episodes.
Yeah, me too. But I was gonna say, speaking of Mad Men, I'm a frequent customer and friends and family, as you know, of Bravo Toast. And I must say, I have seen a very important, famous star of the show at Bravo Toast multiple times.
Right. I've heard that someone has frequented the store many times. Is there, just like a doctor isn't allowed to tell who his patients are you allowed to tell who your customers and clients are, or is there the same kind of confidentiality?
There's HIPAA rules.
We try to keep it cool with our clientele, and we try not to expose them and their spots that they go to. But
you know how you know who it is?
How do you know?
You got to show up and get a toast. That's the only way to find it.
Ooh, I like that.
If you hang out long enough, you'll definitely see someone there.
And there you go. You may even see Raya O'Neal from the Hamptons.
Ding, ding,
ding. If we're lucky.
And there you go. And so what made you go the restaurant route instead of the advertising route?
Well, growing up, I didn't really know what my grandfather did. I saw him out. We would go out to eat, and he had a restaurant, and he loved to cook. And so, if you asked me when I was a kid what he did, I'd probably say he was a cook or in the restaurant business. And so that was kind of like the first time being exposed to it, and it just felt normal. And I loved seeing it and being in restaurants. I mean, that was kind of always been a passion of mine. And I was doing real estate prior to doing this, which again is in the world of it's the hot industry to be in. And but that's why I kind of got into the restaurant business. I mean, it kind of fell into my lap. Wasn't something I necessarily wanted to do before this, but it just kind of coincidence and opportunity was there. And so I said, why not? I love going out to eat, and I love being around the business. But if you asked me a few years ago, never would have thought I'd be in the restaurant business, let alone owning a space or running a space.
Did you ever work in your grandfather's places at all?
I did when I was very little. I was probably 14. One summer, I worked in there a little bit. Did that a few times. And my dad has a couple restaurants that I worked in very briefly. But I definitely don't have much experience in the restaurant business. Very little.
Where are your dad's restaurants?
It's he has a place called Croft Alley, and they have a location in Beverly Hills and in West Hollywood, where Bravo Toast got its start, actually, as a pop-up at their the West Hollywood location.
Did you work there prior to Bravo Toast ever also?
A little bit, yeah. I had gotten fired a few times throughout the process. But that was one reason why I was like, I never wanted to be in the restaurant business, was I hated working in them, which is why I did real estate, because I was like, oh, it's the farthest thing from the restaurant business. But at the same time, I ended up kind of working with a lot of restaurants, doing leasing, and I was the first one to jump at an excuse to get lunch anywhere in the city.
So what, I'm all about movies and TV and stuff like that. So do you have a favorite movie that involves like chefs or cooking or restaurants or
there's not that many out there. So in terms of movies, so I love them all. Ratatouille, Chef. I mean, those are two classics.
Yeah.
Ratatouille. Love Ratatouille.
Yeah, Ratatouille is amazing.
It is an amazing movie. I agree. I'm a big Stanley Tucci fan also, and he's a big foodie. I haven't watched any of his. He has his own kind of food show now. Have you seen?
Yeah, it's kind of the new Anthony Bourdain-esque. I think CNN's trying to kind of create a new one, but Anthony Bourdain show, obviously, his shows were huge inspiration. I mean, I've watched those through countless times, man.
Yeah, and Stanley Tucci, I think he wrote, maybe directed, and starred in a movie called, I think it was called Big Night, about they own this Italian restaurant, and it may have been about their opening night. And I one of my partners, Dr. Leo Gordon, who's been a guest on the podcast before, who's kind of a mentor, just an amazing friend, years ago gave me that movie to watch. And it's
check it out.
Yeah, it's a fun, interesting movie. Certainly as a restaurant person like you are, you should You should definitely see it. And Stanley Tucci's definitely in it as well. And it's a fun movie. I definitely recommend it.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely check that out. It's cool.
So growing up, did you, like when you were in high school and college, what did you think
Yeah,
you
I
were going
worked.
to do?
Well, I had worked in a Mexican restaurant in Westwood when I was in high school for a little bit. Definitely one of the hardest jobs I ever had. But I think it was my first job really
Doing
ever
what?
outside of. I mean, it was like a Chipotle knockoff. So everything from grilling chicken to working the line, making burritos. Not the most fun. Again, another reason why I was like, I got to go to college or something, do something different.
And you were doing that because just to have a job, or you were
Yeah,
interested in the
just
food
to have
business?
a job. I was probably 16, and my parents were like, "Get a job; it'd be good for you." So
Right.
it was
How long
any
did
it
you
was any
last?
job. I think I did it probably about 6 months.
Oh,
I
nice.
saved enough money for Coachella, and then I quit after I got my ticket.
Did you go to
It was a
Coachella
short.
this year?
Not this year. Not this year. I had gone for many years growing up. Though. I mean, since around that time.
Since you were 16, you went to Coachella?
Yeah, I've gone every year since I was probably 6, since like 2012. So like, yeah.
You know, I don't know if I'm proud or embarrassed that my daughter Liat, who's a friend of yours, are you guys the same age actually?
Yeah.
Or same year? Yeah.
Yeah.
So she also, I think, has been going to Coachella, or had been going to Coachella since she was a young teen. And I don't know if that's something I should be proud of as a dad, letting his kid go to Coachella, or kind of embarrassed that I was like, oh yeah, go to Coachella, my 15-year-old. What do you think?
Looking back, I can't believe that my parents let me go. It's like, it might have been 15 even.
Yeah, exactly.
Which seems crazy. But I mean, again, I think we were both going, me and Liat, before it was cool, so to speak.
Right.
Back then, it was still cool, but like it wasn't as big of a production as it is today.
And before everybody dressed up, to have a certain kind of look. I think we already talked about that, Rhea, didn't we? About the whole Coachella outfit and everything.
It used to be cool, like bohemian chic, and now it's like Euphoria Gladiator.
Euphoria Gladiator, exactly.
I used to go to Coachella when you could sneak in. I snuck in a few times. I mean, this is
wow. You could have snuck into Coachella.
Mm-hmm. I know people that would sneak in like every year until and then security obviously is much more heightened the last few years. But
yeah,
it was much more easygoing.
So what did you go to college for? What were you studying in college?
So I went to after high school, I went to Indiana University for a semester studying business. They had a great business school. I was a big fan of Mark Cuban, and I always wanted to start a business, but didn't know what.
Wait, does Mark Cuban have something to do with Indiana University? I'm a little naive.
He's probably their most famous alumni. And
okay.
Dr. Cohen.
So you knew that Mark Cuban went to Indiana?
Yes. Do you watch Shark Tank?
Occasionally. Why? He talks about Indiana on Shark Tank?
He's a shark on Shark Tank.
Yes. No, I know that. But I've never heard him talk about where he went to college on Shark Tank. I
don't know. I just feel like everybody knew that.
Okay.
Sorry, carry on, John.
Wait, but actually, let's back up a little bit, because I remember you told me in high school you actually took, or actually Lucas, who's another friend of yours who's dating my daughter, told me that you guys, Jack, told me that you took some business class in high school, right?
That's when my co-founder and I really became friends, was taking entrepreneurship together in high school, taught by the gym teacher.
Right. And I mentioned that you guys told me that to Lucas, and he's like, yeah, I think the whole time, or maybe you guys told me it, the whole time we basically watched Shark Tank.
Exactly. Yeah. It was I think even the final was like, a question could have been, where'd Mark Cuban go to college?
That's funny. So was that one of the reasons why you chose Indiana?
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to go to business school, and I'm originally from New York, and I grew up in Los Angeles, so I had never experienced anything outside of what NYU or like a UCLA is really. So it was never something different. And yeah, when I got there, I didn't really take a trip there. I really kind of showed up for the first day. And it was definitely different than anything I'd experienced. And it was fun. However, I knew that I didn't want to be there for 4 years.
Why?
And I mean, I'm from LA and New York, and it just wasn't, I'm a foodie, end of the day. Like, I live for food.
Right.
And Bloomington, Indiana wasn't doing it for me.
They don't have food there?
I mean, I'm the type of guy that'll drive 30 minutes for an egg sandwich into like East LA, or like, I'll go on missions for a great cup of coffee. So Bloomington wasn't doing it for me in that realm. But it was a lot of fun. But I wanted to do real estate as well. And I got my real estate license while I was studying there, to convince my parents to let me come home. I said, hey, I'm going to get my real estate license in California, and I'm going to become a real estate agent.
And drop out of school.
That was my plan. They said, okay to everything, but you have to take classes at the community college if you want to do this. And so I passed. Thanksgiving break, I flew back to home to LA and took my test and passed. And I got a job at interning at a real estate broker.
Wait, you didn't even finish the semester?
I went back, but I had the interview. I was scheduling interviews while like in my classes still.
Right.
And I went, and I would come back for Thanksgiving, and I took the test and I passed, and I had a couple interviews, and I finished the semester out. And then, I came back to LA and started working and doing community college. From there, I didn't really know what to do, but I was like, USC sounds cool. They have a good business program, and the real estate program there really appealed to me as well. It's one of the only schools with a real estate program. And I applied, was rejected.
Really?
Almost, first time, right off the bat, rejected. It's like, oh no. Stayed in school though, applied again the next year, was again rejected.
Wow.
And then I actually appealed it. So for a third time, applied again, and I got in on an appeal as like a spring admit or something. But
that's a great story.
It was not a straight shot, I think I even put like, I was going for this big real estate job at the time too, and I even put on that I had gone into USC's real estate program, and then for USC's application, I put that I got this job, and ended up both working out.
That's amazing. So what year? So what year were you a transfer? A junior?
I was a junior, or I think it might have been a second semester sophomore. But yeah, so I mean, I just graduated because that took about 2 years from finishing high school to getting into USC. So I just finished school and I graduated in 2020.
Wow. Were you like a real full-time student, or were you kind of working?
I was a full-time student, but I also had a part-time job on the side doing real estate, mostly retail leasing for restaurants, which was what I ended up doing in the end, and like the most my last 2 years of school. So I would like go after restaurants and find spaces for restaurants or fashion companies or things in the retail world. I was dealing with more entrepreneurs and business owners rather than people looking for like their starter home or dream home or whatever.
And so what was the plan? What were you thinking?
I didn't really think past like, hey, I wanted to get into real estate. I wanted to eventually buy a piece of property. Was really kind of doing that and making connections and finishing school. Again, I only graduated college in 2020.
COVID.
It was COVID. Yeah. We went away for spring break and never came back.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. But I was a senior at that point. And right before then, so I'd been working in real estate brokerage now for about 2 years. And must have been January, right before COVID started, that that my friends and I had this idea to do Bravo Toast. It was almost one of those, hey, I can always go back to real estate. I have a degree in it. I have experience in it. It's not going anywhere. But this like restaurant idea, maybe this is an opportunity. Maybe this is something cool that you got to kind of take advantage of the moment.
Is there an interesting, fun, weird, or wacky story of how the idea was birthed? Or was it like a mushroom acid trip in the middle of the desert or something like that? Or
nothing like that. Just we were just sort of hanging out and talking about business ideas, and and having some drinks and hanging out, and really, that was kind of the inception of it. I mean, it was pretty organic. It was definitely not planned. It was one of those pipe dream kind of experiences where, just, hey, let's have an avocado toast shop. And from there, I think even the first day that we were talking about it, I was like, I'm not quitting my job for this. This is not what I was looking for in terms of business. But after sleeping on it, like day after day, the ideas really started to resonate.
And it was always just you and your best friend, Nathan Katz.
Yeah. We had another friend that was a part of it as well, but didn't end up seeing it through. But yeah, I mean, Nathan took the thing from start to finish. It's tough working with friends. I would not recommend it to anyone. It can definitely put a strain on the friendship, and it can get complicated.
For sure.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't recommend it. Me and Nathan have something I think unique and special, and end up working out. But it's I could not imagine working with any other friend. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. No, it's
definitely... now, and I'm fortunate that I get to go to work with my best friend every day. But again, I think that's a rare thing and not something that people realize is really hard to pull off. Hard to do.
That's one thing actually that people who notice my medical practice, we all get along really well, so much so that we like hanging out with each other. And some of the docs, some of the surgeons, I consider really close friends, and people notice that too. And it's really rare in business to be able to have something like that, I think. So you're really lucky. Where did the name Bravo come from?
A friend came up with it on the spot. Just one of our buddies who is notorious for coming up with the greatest names for things.
Really?
So we brought in a specialist. Yeah.
Do you really have a friend who's great at naming stuff?
The best. And yeah, he's got the best names in town. You have a product, you have an idea, he'll come up with a name for you.
What else has he named? Has he named other stuff?
Yeah, tons of stuff. I don't know. I think we may be his best thing that's come to market. But
did you deliberately go to him and say, "Hey, what should we name our business?"
Yeah, we didn't know. We had a lot. It was originally going to be called The Bite. Actually, it was just going to be a bite or an avocado toast with a bite missing.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had a probably list of like 10 names, 12 names. None of them we liked really though.
Yeah.
And we were like, dude, you need to come over and come up with a name for us. And yeah, we really kind of chopped it up and brainstormed, and it kind of happened in a vacuum.
So, I run this pre-med program for college and post-bac kids who are interested in being doctors. And one of the questions lately I've been asking the students when they're interviewing to be in the program is, COVID's been a really crappy time, for everybody, but there's been some good stuff out of COVID. So for you, that's probably definitely the case, right? What has COVID been for you guys?
I mean, it would definitely been hard being our first business and the first time kind of in the stage of doing business. It was good because the world was really moving slowly. And so as first time entrepreneurs, it was good that we got to go a little bit slower than per se the norm, as well as our parents would not have supported us starting this business. And it took, about 18 months from start to finish, or just from the idea to opening up. But during that time, it was, because of COVID, it was appropriate to not have a job per se, or to be working on something that was kind of freelance or different because of COVID. And it allowed everything kind of stop. So it allowed us to almost snake through the industry, and we got to talk to people we never would have talked to and have opportunities that we never would have had because of COVID. But at the same time, obviously it was challenging at times. And it came with its own set of challenges, but we felt like the playing field was level, put it that way, because of COVID. But I mean, it is what it is. It's never a good time to start a business, whether it's recession or pandemic, or it could be anything. There's always going to be a reason why not to do something. And, we just said, kind of screw it, let's do it, and went for it. Texted some friends, come for some free avocado toast. And from there, we couldn't really stop. It became this like little phenomenon, just with kind of some of the locals in our area.
And you guys started in I guess it's more of a classic way today, but you guys kind of started in a pretty atypical way for a restaurant, right? And probably because of COVID to some degree.
Yeah. I mean, today we were just talking about this recently. If you want, so we had a pop-up, is what we did basically. It's what they're called officially, where you kind of take over a restaurant that maybe that's closed, or if it's only open for dinner, you take over during the day. Because of COVID, one of my dad's restaurants was closed, and so we were able to take it over and run a little basically market test for our product and for our concept. And because there was nothing else open and nothing else new or anything like special happening at all, we became the only thing to do that was like, oh, it's not like you look online to see what restaurants were closed permanently, let alone if they were open, let alone if they were new. So we became kind of this little pandemic baby, pandemic special kind of thing.
Yeah. And then you went east also, right? You went
where we met. Yeah. We got an opportunity to go out to the Hamptons where we met Raya. Again, only because of the pandemic would we have gotten an opportunity to take over a little built out little beach shack in East Hampton. And so because there was nobody else there, and it was middle of July in the summertime when usually things are long said and done. And today, if you can't find a place to do a pop-up today, you can't find anywhere that isn't booming. So it was really narrow window for us to kind of start this thing.
And then now you've had your real boots on the ground, brick and mortar location.
Yeah, for about 5 months. We opened January 2nd. And it's been a great start thus far. We're really excited. I mean, I've learned a lot about food, and I've learned so much about the process, but in general, just the food and what's good for your body, health, what a restaurant's putting into their stuff. And I think that because it's kind of a clean slate and we're new to this business, we think of things differently than somebody who's like a veteran in the restaurant business. When it comes to health specifically, I think, we're not frying things. We're not cooking with any saturated fats and things like that. It's really stuff that we would cook with at home, or that you would find in someone's home. It's grass-fed butter, it's olive oils, it's nothing with too many ingredients in it, let's put it that way. A lot of raw, natural stuff. And
do you guys would you say you have kind of a mission or a find your why? What's your, someone I like a lot is a guy named Simon Sinek. I don't know if you've ever read his books or listened to his TED Talks or anything like that. Simon Sinek. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
I definitely recommend that to you guys and our listeners. But one of the things he talks about is finding your why. Why you do it. Like he talks about Apple. They clearly found their why. Do you guys have a sense of what your guys' why is, or your mission? Or
yeah, we it's definitely something we talked about, and it isn't just to be a restaurant. It was really about, hey, let's build a place. And we chose Avocado Toast as our vehicle for our mission. But the mission is really about, hey, let's build something for this community here, and do something local, and do something that's in terms of like the customer base, the clientele. Let's enhance this community, create an amenity for people, and that's really what was our mission initially. We thought Avocado Toast was a great way for this amenity to exist and for people to come and enjoy it. And, it's a fun idea. We've become known for it. But it was really about, hey, let's build something special here. Let's create an environment for people to hang out, to come together, be inclusive. And that was really the mission initially. We chose Avocado Toast as a vehicle.
It's amazing. I don't know about you, both of you guys growing up in New York. At least when I was a kid, I don't think I ever had an avocado as a kid. So it's probably just more a little bit of a generational thing. I don't think I really had even guacamole until maybe I was well into my 20s or something. And I don't know if it's an East Coast thing or just, Mexican food started more on the West Coast.
It's a bit of both. It's definitely a generational thing, though. I mean, I like to joke and say that Avocado Toast is our generation's cheeseburger.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to, I think. And just the same way you have like greasers from the 50s eating burgers, I think that if they were to film something 50 years from now, they would show our generation eating avocado toast and drinking matchas and depict it in the same way. So I really do think it's kind of like a thing like that.
Yeah. I've eaten the avocado toast, and I'm not just saying it. It's probably the best avocado toast I've ever had. It really is phenomenal.
That's our mission right there.
Yeah, it really is phenomenal. So, two more questions. One is, so these days, and this is just an esoteric, weird question. Do you think you actually need a restaurant these days? Because you had maybe the thing of the future is just doing pop-ups and carts and stands, and have you thought about that ever?
We definitely thought about it, but I think that when we said, "Wait, what's our mission here?" and like I was just saying that it was about building a place. That the food was secondary, So if you have a great place, I think that you can bring in food from cloud kitchens, for example, and all that those whole concepts. You can do a lot with it, but if you want to be something that's going to withstand COVID, withstand things that are recession proof, things like that, you need something that's a bit more than just, hey, here's a box with some food in it. That's why it's called the hospitality industry, and not, that's what we think of ourselves in, rather than just food service or fast food.
But I'll tell you, I think the food, at least having had the avocado toast, the food is definitely enough of a reason to go there.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, we gotta have good product. I mean, at the end of the day, but it's a balancing act for sure.
So where do you see you and Bravo Toast in 3, 5, 10 years?
Only time will tell. We're talking about that now amongst the team. What's the next couple of years look like? Right now, we're excited to be opening up all day at our space on Doheny Drive, serving some mimosas and sangria for the summertime. Can do an alcohol program. I think that's really exciting.
An alcohol program for alcoholics?
No, not for alcoholics.
To quit alcohol? No.
No.
Yeah.
Well, we're not. Yeah, no. We'll try to keep it mellow and try to keep it tame, but definitely some mimosas, sangria, and some more evening stuff like that. And we'll see. I mean, we're talking about different ways, different directions to take the brand right now.
Are you going to have live music, you think?
Would love to. I think that goes back to, our vision was to create this focal point of the community there. And we're discussing doing kind of some more kind of events that isn't even about the avocado toast. It's about everybody else's stuff. I think that'd be really cool to do, and to, spotlight some other small businesses, other young entrepreneurs. Since doing this, we've met so many amazing people who have brands that they've started in the last 2 years during COVID too, for the same reasons we have, which is like, this is an opportunity, a time that we're not going to get back. And so I'm looking forward to seeing, helping out some other young entrepreneurs and growing our base like that. I think that could be really cool for the future.
I think it would be cool to see Bravo Toast in sporting arenas.
I would love that. Airports, sure.
Airports and like, you go to a ball game and you get a Bravo Toast.
And yeah, anywhere they sell burgers, I think you could sell avocado toast.
Is that, how easy is that? Do you have any idea, to get into a stadium or something?
It's one of them approached us. I believe it was for SoFi Stadium. This was way before we opened up on Doheny Drive, but different situations. You can either lease it out or they approach you, and it's profit sharing. It just depends. Yeah, if it's a new stadium, an old stadium.
And you said no, or it didn't, or you negotiated and it didn't work out? It
was like the worst spot in the area. It wasn't like it was, a concession stand in the stadium. It was kind of on the side, but they were selling it like it was like, oh, you're going to be the thing at the game.
Right. But it wasn't like in the stadium when you go and you run.
It wasn't. It was like really expensive for us to do it too. And we thought we had a great spot that we were focused on. We stayed focused on the spot here, and I think we made the right decision in the long run. Cool. But yeah, no, they're out there. I have some questions for you too, Dr. Cohen.
Okay. All
right.
I
was telling Raya earlier.
All right.
Since getting involved into food, I've been discovering more and more of this like food counterculture that exists, and wanted to know if you had any experience with this or knew anything about it.
Yeah, you'll have to explain a little bit what you mean by a food counterculture. What does that even mean?
There's a big group on the internet, and it's going to sound crazy when I tell it to you, because I thought it was crazy, but there's people that really believe this stuff, and it is all about kind of an ancestral way of living when it comes to food. There's a guy called there's a few of these guys out there. One of them is called Raw Meat Experiment. Have you heard of this guy?
No, I have not.
I'm curious to know why he's not dead or why he's not violently sick, but he's been eating only raw meat for, I think he's on day like 185.
Isn't that called carpaccio or something?
No, he's eating like raw everything. Chicken, beef, bison, pork, liver,
wow,
testicles. I mean, you name it.
Wow.
Raw. Claims he's never felt better.
That just sounds, I haven't even heard of it. So but that just sounds very gimmicky. That doesn't sound like anything more than a gimmick.
I thought it was too, but since how social media works, they kind of you fall into an algorithm.
Yeah.
But there's another guy who's very, very famous as well now called the Liver King, who does the same kind of thing. He's this guy who's muscular guy, huge, claims that it's the basis of his diet is raw organs from animals. And these videos of him eating them, and again, there's just tons of people now, and it's becoming this thing where they're anti-vegetable. And it's only raw in organs. I want to know, is there any truth to this? Is there any way? Is it healthy? Are these guys going to get violently ill someday?
Yeah. And then there's that whole, bone broth craze. Do you remember that whole thing? The bone broth craze?
I mean, these guys are claiming this is what our ancestors ate.
I don't think our ancestors really did that. I think what our ancestors did were, for the most part, they were gatherers. They would be, living off the berries and the wheat and things like that. And then very rarely, occasionally, they would be lucky and have some kind of kill, and they would eat, for a short amount of time, they would eat some kind of protein like that. But I think for the most part, they were eating plant protein most of the time. And then occasionally when they got lucky, they would have something else to eat. I think everything's a fad to some degree. I don't know if you know this about me. I'm someone who's a big fan of being plant-based. I joke around with my patients and my family that I've turned into a weird, LA Californian, because growing up I was a big carnivore, and I've gotten more and more bizarre in terms of eating. But I think it's definitely healthier having more of a plant-based diet, and then occasionally having some other stuff now and then is really what I kind of advocate. But I don't think anyone needs to be extreme anything. Like I don't think being a pure vegetarian is necessary, or a pure vegan or plant-based person is necessary. That's kind of my long answer.
That's probably the right way to do things. But.
Yeah, but I do think those guys are going to get sick at some point of some weird parasitic infection, probably, and get pretty sick. They may not die from it, but they may get E. coli, or they may get some tapeworm or ringworm or something like that, or even like weirder stuff, and get sick. They may not die, but get sick. And I think eating too much meat and too much animal is definitely bad for you.
I see. Well, we got to get this guy on here to debate with you, because he's a strong opinion. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, the other show.
I don't do that. But
have you seen? I tell my patients, who I try to get more plant-based, I tell them to watch Game Changers. Have you seen that movie on Netflix?
I saw some of a Seaspiracy and Cowspiracy. Those I've watched. Those are great.
Well, those Game Changers is more entertaining. Okay. About the benefits, the health benefits of being plant-based. And I think you'd find it fun and entertaining.
Yeah.
and they show Schwarzenegger, and they show someone who's supposedly one of the strongest men in the world is plant-based, and so it's interesting.
Oh, definitely check it out. Yeah, no, I've been learning a lot about food and what I want to learn more. There's so many philosophies and so many different ways to look at things.
Yeah, so. And the one thing I know for sure is how much we don't know. That's the one thing I know for sure, and how much things constantly are changing and evolving. That's the other thing. Tell us, before we say goodbye, tell us what days is Bravo open? What hours are Bravo open? And
we are open 8 to 4 and every day but Monday.
Well, Jack, thank you so much for joining us. Bravo toast is amazing. The avocado toast is really, really the best I've ever had. And I consider myself somewhat of a foodie too. So thank you. Thanks for being a guest.
Means a lot. And this was fun. Look forward to it. We'll have to be back on sometime. We'll bring Nathan next time.
Definitely. Cool.
Let's do it. All right. Thanks. You guys.
Bye, guys.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to Gross Anatomy, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you can check out more episodes on the evolving sights, smells, and sounds of medicine. Gross Anatomy is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.